Dear CyCon participants, dear friends, I am pleased to open the conference which I have heard is the event of the year for the cybersecurity community. And I would like to thank Tallinn and the NATO Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence for putting together another impressive event. The center was founded by 6 nations in 2008. This was triggered by Russian cyber attacks on Estonia in 2007, and the realization that another domain of warfare was emerging. As this year's CyCon theme, Keep Moving, indicates, cyber attacks and defensive methods, strategic thinking about cyber conflicts and technology itself have come a long way. Our dependence on digital solutions in our private lives and in the functioning of our governments and societies is such that we can never afford to be complacent about cybersecurity. The Cybersecurity Center itself has grown to 32 nations, underlining the need for working together. I would like to highlight the recent invitation to Ukraine to join the NATO Cyber Center, as mentioned already by Tallinn. It will further link Ukraine and NATO, and it will allow for valuable exchange of experience and information. I'm very pleased to be able to finally welcome Ukraine to a NATO Cyber Center. And I think we would all struggle to find a nation that has in recent memory fought so fiercely and bravely, both in the cyberspace and on the battlefield. They are an inspiration to us all. To defend its institution, critical services, and its population, Ukraine has received a lot of help from friendly governments and international organizations, from industry, from private citizens who felt compelled to offer their support. But we all know that even with all help, nobody else can defend our IT and communication system, and Ukraine certainly has shown the capability in this domain, even impressing some of us. Of course, Russia's war in Ukraine continues. The analysts are still making their assessments. However, we can say that so far, Russian attackers have been less skillful than expected. The scale and impact of their attacks has been less significant than we thought it would be. This is not to claim that Russian activities in the cyber realm have had no serious consequences. One only has to point to the attacks against satellite provider Viasat, or some of the biggest Ukrainian telecommunication providers, like Ukraine Telecom or Tallinn. Both led to critical services being temporarily unavailable. However, this did not give the decisive advantage to the Russian attackers, and they didn't manage to permanently destroy or disable critical services, nor prevent the Ukrainian government from functioning. But what has been clearly demonstrated is that cyber operations are now and will be a significant part of preparations for and in conduct of military operations. In Ukraine, cyber capabilities have been used, for example, to target critical infrastructure and IT systems, gather information and intelligence, disrupt communications, spread disinformation, and prevent the public's access to information. As revealed by reporting by Microsoft in April 6, separate Russia-aligned nation-state actors launched more than 237 operations against Ukraine. And that, in my eyes, in many cases, military operations were supported by hacking. But I know that 99.9% of the people in this room can analyze and assess the situation better than I can. So I will not attempt to do your job for you. I will, however, share a few conclusions for our strategy going forward. Based on recent Russian cyber and conventional warfare against Ukraine, as well as attempts to attack Ukraine's friends in the West. I have 3 points to offer in this regard. First, offensive cyber operations have become an integral part of any serious military effort. Cyber and kinetic operations go hand in hand, and while airstrikes and artillery can cause large-scale physical damage, cyber is an important enabler of those activities and in shaping the battle space. As it has been said, wars will be fought with both bombs and bytes. This means that NATO and individual allies must continue to work on ensuring that the full range of cyber capabilities and activities are integrated into our military operations, and that defensive and offensive cyber operations are seamlessly integrated in our military operations. The critical element of any military success depends on all domains supporting each other in a coordinated way. And luckily, this is where Russian forces have not performed well overall. This is where NATO and allies have an advantage, building on hard-won interoperability from exercising and working together in our domains for decades. Second, multinational cooperation and information sharing will be a key by combating cyber threats, including in case of an armed conflict. Through NATO, EU, and bilaterally, European, American, and other nations have significantly aided Ukraine in building up its cyber security enterprise. We have seen that this has made a real difference at a time of war. And as we have seen in Ukraine, it is not necessarily only the direct victim of aggression who has been targeted with hacking. Many NATO and EU countries have also been affected, including Estonia, most recently with repeated DDoS attacks against our government institutions and organizations. Plus, collateral damage in cyber operation is hard to control, so we may all be affected by effects of cyber conflict where we are not directly a party. So it makes sense to cooperate and exchange information, such as indications of compromise between governments belonging to a Western community of values. Having common friends in our greatest strengths in this battle. And not just between governments, but also companies and independent experts. Such cooperation requires unprecedented trust, but I believe that in this fight, we must really stick together. The war is far from over, and Russian cyber attacks against Ukraine and our countries continue and may escalate at any moment. Third, the resilience of our governments, societies, and the providers of our critical services in both peace and wartime is critical. As we know, cyber threats do not suddenly materialize once kinetic operations kick off. It is quite the opposite, as the preparations for that are usually done in cyber domain during peacetime. Russia has been carrying out cyber operations against Ukraine since 2014 and has been busy working towards finding and exploiting new vulnerabilities in Ukrainian systems ever since. And Russia began preparing for offensive cyber operations almost a year before the tanks rolled over Ukraine border on 24th of February. We have seen that Russia's offensive strategy in the physical realm as well as cyber battlefield is to target civilians. In cyber domain, this means services that are critical for the society to function. According to Microsoft, in the realm of 40% of cyber attacks were directed towards critical services. So the boring, everyday work of ensuring the resilience of our digital services, securing our data and adequate cyber defense capabilities for our critical service providers will make a difference. Ensuring that our citizens know enough about basic cyber hygiene and are aware of the perils that exist in cyberspace is another important strand of work ahead of us all. All of this is true today, but most of all in wartime conditions when we will be subjected by cyber attacks 24/7. Estonia may rank highly in international rankings for cybersecurity, but we can and we should do better. And continue to help countries like Ukraine, as we have done enough our e-government academy. So I believe that we have our agenda set out for us. I'm sure that our discussions today will take forward our collective efforts to ensure our and our partners' security in the cyber realm. Finally, I truly believe that if our help and support to Ukraine are steadfast, Ukraine will secure its freedom, democracy, and its rightful place in the European family. But we must all pitch in and continue to help our Ukrainian friends with our cyber defense expertise, information, and resources. Thank you. I wish you all thought-provoking conference.